Riding a motorcycle when the temperatures get really high can be tough. We've had temperatures here in the North Texas area over 100 degrees lately, and I see a lot of riders making a critical mistake in trying to beat the heat on a motorcycle. We'll talk about that this week on MCrider, the mistakes you can make, and things that you can do to help out a little bit with the heat when you're on a bike. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Kevin. I'm the host at MCrider. We release a weekly video on MCrider on skills and road strategy to help make you a better rider. You can support us on Patreon and get access to the field guide and our forums that we launched last week that have really been taking off. We got good discussions going on at the forums. You can learn more about the forums and the field guide at mcrider.com/support. So I've never really had any issues with heat while riding a motorcycle, but I do have some experience with it while I was in the Army. I was at Fort McClellan one summer. We were doing training. We'd been in the field for about a week, and the final test that we had while we were in the field was a simulated assault on a village that was set up in the middle of the woods in Alabama. So we had been planning all week for this. The morning of, we did a long march through the woods to get to where we needed to be. It was about a 10 or 15 mile hike to get to where we needed to be. We were working with a large group of soldiers, and they had a small encampment set up in the middle of the woods with instructors and trainers that were the simulated enemy in this encampment, and our mission was to set up a plan to perform an assault on this village, to help clear this village. So we had been marching all day in the heat and getting in position for this exercise. Comes time for the exercise, and now it's about 2 in the afternoon, the middle of the day, right in the middle of the heat. We start the attack on this village, and just as we start the attack, they toss tear gas at us. All right, so now it's well over 100 degrees and it's humid, and we've got tear gas, so we have to pull out gas masks, go into gas masks. And I don't know if you've ever worn any of those, had experience with it. Creates a seal all around your face, and then there's a rubber hood that goes over the top of that. You're looking through a small portal in the front of it. No ventilation at all. Your face is totally sealed off to keep the gas from getting to you. So we're continuing to run and move around with these gas masks on. It's well over 100 degrees. I was sweating and got to the point where the sweat was building up inside the mask. There's nowhere for it to go. It was above my mouth level, so I was only able to breathe through my nose. I eventually had to clear the thing in order to let some of the sweat pour out of the mask so that I could continue to breathe. Well, we finished that exercise. We were done for the day. I was sitting underneath a shade tree trying to cool off, and just, out of the blue, I got this splitting headache and started getting really nauseous and feeling nauseous while the heat was getting to me. I had lost more water than I had put in, and it was my first real experience with heat exhaustion. It didn't get to the point of heat stroke, but it was fairly close. So I understand the importance of taking in fluids and how that could affect you both out in the field and on a motorcycle if you're not watching your fluids and aware of how it affects your body. Like I said, I live in North Texas, and perhaps one of the toughest jobs here in the middle of the summer is that of a roofer. Those guys are up on the roof all day long, no shade. And if you'll look at these pictures, I want you to see if you notice something about these guys who are putting roofs on or installing roofs in the heat. So do you notice a trend in looking at those photos? That's right, all of those guys on that roof had long sleeve shirts on. Now the smart ones here in North Texas you'll see with the long sleeve shirts on, and there's a reason why they do that, and we'll discover that and how that relates to riding a motorcycle as we talk about this issue of riding in the heat. So what these roofers have discovered is that once the outside temperatures reach a certain level, you're better off covering up or protecting your skin from the heat. So let's look at some common mistakes that riders often make when they're trying to beat the heat. And the first common mistake that you see all the time here in North Texas is riders riding around like this. So while it may look cooler in order to ride with shorts and a short sleeve shirt on, you're actually causing two big problems for yourself. One is, easily understood. If you're involved in a crash, the last thing you want is a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on whenever you go down on the highway. And secondly, it's counterproductive to what they're trying to do in the first place, which is be a little bit cooler on a motorcycle. The second mistake that a lot of riders make is not watching their water intake. Now, that was probably my mistake when we were in the field as well. But it's not just the water that you drank today when it's hot. It's the water that you drank yesterday or the night before. So if you're planning on going out for a ride, try to avoid alcohol. Coffee even can have a negative effect. Avoid sugary drinks and make sure that you get a lot of water in your system, particularly the day before you expect to be out in the heat, because that's what resources your body is going to have whenever you start out for the ride in the heat. The next thing that a lot of riders fail to recognize is the symptoms of heat exhaustion. Now, heat exhaustion is the first step prior to heat stroke, and some of your symptoms, if you're facing heat exhaustion, are going to be headaches, nausea, fatigue, maybe some dizziness. All of those kind of things is what I was feeling whenever we were in the field. And those are early signs of heat exhaustion. And if you don't recognize those and begin to take care of yourself, it can eventually turn into heat stroke, which is much more serious. That's where your internal organs and your brain become overheated. You can actually pass out, you can cause brain damage, your heart rate can begin to fluctuate, and it can cause some serious problems and is actually a medical emergency. So you want to pay attention to signs of heat exhaustion before you get into heat stroke. And if you're feeling signs of heat exhaustion, things you can do is to find a shady spot, make sure your intake of water is increased. You can add a little bit of salt to water, about 1 tablespoon per cup or half tablespoon per cup, in order to get some extra salt into your system. But those things can help stave off or keep you from going into heat stroke. So let's make sure we understand the issues that we're facing when we ride in the heat. Remember, your body temperature on average is 98.6 degrees. And as your body heats up, it pushes blood to the surface of the skin, which causes you to sweat. That sweat causes evaporative cooling to take place, which cools the blood down and is circulated back through the body. The problem when the temperatures get above 98 degrees, when it's 104 degrees out there, the air hitting your skin is hotter than your internal body temperature is. So instead of the blood coming to the surface and cooled by evaporative cooling, it's actually heated up and then circulated back through the body. And we make that condition worse when we ride around in shorts and t-shirt, because we don't give our body a chance to sweat properly. That sweat's evaporated quickly as we're riding down the road, so you never get that cooling effect, and it's actually compounded by evaporation of the sweat too quickly, your blood continuing to heat up and circulate through the body. So by wearing shorts and a t-shirt, we're actually making the situation much worse for ourselves, because we're continuing to heat our blood and circulate it back through the body. So you have to be able to sweat in order to maintain proper body temperature. The way that you can keep that sweat on your body long enough for it to provide some evaporative cooling for you is to wear protective gear. The gear is not only going to protect you in case of a crash, but it's going to protect your body by allowing it to sweat and to help cool your blood down to circulate that back through your body. You need to continue to drink water as you ride. So about 1 pint of water per hour in order to replenish your body of the fluids that you're losing. And remember that the water you drank the night before is going to have an effect as well. Just like you wouldn't want to leave on your motorcycle with an empty tank and try to keep it just above empty the whole time you're riding. You want to start out with the full tank when you go for a ride. Same way with your hydration levels. When you start out on a hot day, you want to start with the full tank, and you want to make sure you're hydrated well the night before when you go out on that ride. So we've learned that evaporative cooling is how the body keeps itself cool on these hot days. There are some things that you can do to help with that. The simplest and the one that everybody's got access to is just wetting down your t-shirt. So if you've got a t-shirt, get some water on that, put your jacket on over the top of it. That's going to help keep you cool for a little bit. Something else that you can do is you can buy those rags. You can find them, on Amazon and at Walmart. You can soak those in water. They're designed to hold and maintain water a little bit longer. Wrap those around your neck and put them down inside your jacket. And those are going to last longer than just a wet t-shirt would in that situation. And there's actually evaporative cooling vests. And I've ridden with these before in the past. You soak the entire thing down. And it's got beads in it that maintains moisture. And that evaporative cooling effect is going to last for, maybe 2 or 3 hours with one of these cooling vests. But remember, the more humid the environment is, the less effective these evaporative cooling techniques are. So if you're riding in a really humid environment, it may not be quite as effective as it would be in a drier environment. So don't fall into that trap of thinking that less gear is going to make you cooler in a hot environment on a motorcycle. Actually, it's going to make things worse because it's not allowing your body to sweat, and in turn, that evaporative cooling is not taking place. So those guys riding around on the shorts and the t-shirt are actually being counterproductive to what they're trying to do in staying cool on a motorcycle. If you got any tips or ideas, things that you've used in riding in the heat, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and allow me and others to learn from you as well. And I hope that you'll join us over on the forums. The forums have started on MCrider for patrons. You can go to mcrider.com/forum to learn more about the forums, or go to mcrider.com/support, learn how to support the channel, get access to the forums and the field guide where you can practice these and other techniques on your own on any open parking lot. Hope this was helpful for you guys this week. We've been facing a lot of heat here in North Texas, and I'm sure you have where you've been riding as well. So until next week, this is Kevin with MCrider, and we'll see you on the road. MCrider is supported by our friends on Patreon. To learn how to support MCrider and get access to the field guide, go to mcrider.com/support.